Back again. Am I sounding clear? Right. So, just a very quick video because I'm in a bit of a rush. UFC 159 was early this morning, so I did get to see some of that. So, briefly talk about some of it before I go. Make it very quick. What did I think? And where should I start? Because I didn't see all of the card, I saw a bit of it, so I'll talk about the bits that I did see. I did see Phil Davis versus Vinny Magalhaes. I thought he would stand with Vinny, because Vinny's not a striker, and perhaps Phil has the edge there, even though Phil is a very good wrestler, and doesn't want to risk going into Magalhaes' world, the ground game, and being subbed. And it reminded me a lot of Overeem and Verdum in some ways, where after a while, in the third round, he kept kind of goading him to come into his guard, but Phil stayed disciplined, stuck to the game plan, won that way. Good to see that Phil's been working on his hands, because that seemed to be... I remember the Rashad Evans fight, and I wasn't impressed when he fought Rashad. He needed work, and he looks like he's put some time in, so that was that fight done. Roy, big motherfucker, Country Nelson. I love this fucking guy. I love this guy. I knew he would knock out Chet Congo. I just knew it. And I love Roy Nelson because this guy he does not care how he looks. He's, got man boobs and a gut, and he looks like he's got Yeti hair and like Santa Claus. I don't know what he looks like. he just knocked Chet Congo the fuck out. I was just like, man, I love Roy Nelson. He makes me want to go now down to Burger King, eat a couple of Whoppers, and then punch someone in the face. Roy Nelson is just tremendous. I love Roy Nelson. Roy Nelson is hilarious. Then we skip straight to... Oh my god, my memory is so shit. Alan Belcher, Michael Bisping. A lot of hype for this fight. Everybody who had been following the lead into the fight will know there was a lot of stuff said from Michael Bisping, who is hilarious and tremendous at this. I don't know if you heard the conference call, but you should hear that. That was quite funny. Bisping, we'll bloody see, won't we? Going off at Belcher. Belcher, I think a lot of people felt Belcher could have been a problem for him because he's got good kicks, good heavy kicks, and high kicks and things like that. Unfortunately, Bisping was able to beat him to the punch several times in the fight. Going very well, going very nicely, but then as we got to the third round, I believe there was a nail to the eye, or a finger to the eye, to Alan Belcher. Eye that actually was surgically repaired, from what I understand, and it started bleeding heavily, and the fight was stopped. Because it was in the third round, they went to the judges' scorecards, I think. Did they? Or they... But Bisping won, basically. It was a very, good return to form from Bisping after he'd lost to Vitor Belfort. Frustrating, though, because you never want to see a fight get ended due to, a shot to below the groin or something to the eye. I know that happened twice actually in that night, so it was a bit weird actually. It seemed like a lot of people were jinxed if you had eyes or your foot. And speaking of foot injuries, we go straight to Jon Jones and Chael Sonnen. Now, I think that in a way the fight was a foregone conclusion. I personally felt that Chael had a better chance of winning the fight had this fight happened in September. That's just my opinion. But as the fight was re-announced and Jon got that Vitor fight under his belt and all of that drama behind him, I just knew that Jon would overwhelm him and beat him. I didn't see Chael having the knockout power to take him out. I didn't know about the submission skills, maybe, I don't know, but my thought was Chael's best chance is to just zoom straight in, take him down and do what he does best, control guys on the ground. However, the cards were switched on him, and Jon Jones went straight for Chael, took him down, just started to beat on him. A lot of people are like, oh, the ref should have just let that because it wasn't too far off from the bell going. I don't. Yeah, if Chael doesn't have a problem with it being stopped, then I don't think we should in a way. Jon overwhelmed him and beat him. I mean, his face was puffed up and swollen afterwards. Jon took him out. And I'll tell you what, makes it interesting. Let me think of the right way of phrasing this. I always feel that Chael should be fighting at 185. That is his weight class. A lot of people talk about what Chael did to Anderson and use that as a weight to why he beat Jon. And my thing is that Jon is a significantly better wrestler than Anderson is, bringing that into the MMA world. and Anderson's one hole is his wrestling, and that's why Chael looked so great against him. Whereas against the Jon Jones, I don't know if the same thing would happen. And Jon's creativity and his flashiness and his diversity of strikes makes him a very dangerous opponent, and I wasn't surprised. I loved what Chael came out in, that Damien Sandow looking robe. That was tremendous. And I CM Punk was there as well apparently, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, Chael lost to the better man. Just leaves the question now, what is next for Jon Jones? Who is next for Jon Jones? It looks like Gustafsson might be next. A lot of people would love to see Gegard Mousasi next. Perhaps that could happen eventually down the line. A lot of people are talking about Dan Henderson, if he beats Rashad Evans, being the next guy. So there's always, someone coming up or someone on the way. Be very interesting. But Jon isn't that far off from clearing out the whole division. I mean, other than Henderson, Mousasi, Gustafsson, I can't think of anybody else. Oh, Daniel Cormier would be the other fight, potentially. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens now, to be honest with you. And of all the guys right now, available right now, I think Cormier would be the guy. If Cormier can get his weight down to 205, Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier would be a great fight to watch. Cormier is coming off a win, so it looks like they can do that. And in the interim, build up Mousasi and Gustafsson, or Henderson, and get one of those three ready. So looks like that's what's going to happen. Is Chael Sonnen going to retire? I don't know. It seemed like it was being implied when he made the comment, I've got to figure out a path, and if the path doesn't lead to another title opportunity, then take it as you will. So, and Chael has had about 3 title fights, but do I think Chael will retire? I don't know. I would hope not, because I still think he's got a lot left in the tank. But where does he go from now? I don't know. And this was one of the drawbacks about him fighting Jon Jones right away. At least if he was in the weight class, he could have some fights to build himself up and then get there. But didn't happen. And when you've got money and pay-per-view buys to generate, things like that are going to happen. If that is the last Chael Sonnen fight we have, I want to say thank you to Chael. Chael was a tremendous entertainer, a very good fighter, tremendous salesman, great promoter, put a lot of life into the middleweight division. And I'll tell you what, that will be a video to talk about at another time. And at some point next week, I will talk about Chael Sonnen's career and why I like him and what it is about him I like. It's pretty obvious because I'm a wrestling fan. Anyways, I will stop right there. I'm driveling, I'm tired, I need water, I need my hay fever tablets, I need to get the hell out of here. Guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what you saw. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the future. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It's a nice little thing you can do for me. I do videos weekly, if I get the time, on MMA, on pro wrestling. Just warning you MMA diehards. I do videos on pro wrestling, and I do some videos on boxing sometimes. So check them out. Feel free to comment, share, tell people about this. Tell your mum, tell your grandmum, tell whoever you want. I'm out of here. Take care, peace, and later.